So the premiere of Agatha All Along came out a few weeks ago, and I was really excited about it. My girlfriend and I watched WandaVision as it was coming out, but we didn't really remember a ton about it. Luckily though, Agatha All Along stands on its own without needing to watch 100 hours of Marvel content to understand what's going on. And it not only stands on its own, it's good. The story is fun, the characters are strong, the comedy is funny, and we are all about witch stuff in this household, so we were immediately on board. Side note, we liked the show so much we talked about it on our podcast, Welcome to the Writer's Room. It's a show where we talk about all different kinds of media and whether or not it works. If you're interested in some non-music focused review, I'll link the channel in the description below. Speaking of which, one aspect of the show we did touch on but didn't go super in-depth with was the music. And that's what I want to do in this video. The score for Agatha All Along is great. It's mystical, quirky, and really helps set the tone for the show. Christopher Beck and Michael Paraskevas did a great job of bringing the audience into the world of Agatha All Along through its music. But the specific thing I want to talk about happens at the end of episode 2. The main cast gathers together in a basement to conjure the Witch's Road, which is where the rest of the adventure is set. Agatha and her 4 other witch friends circle up and start what looks to be a medieval chant, very witchy type thing. But instead, the audio changes and the audience is introduced to a produced, energized, partially a cappella singing of what appears to be a classic rock song. And I love it.
Seekest thou the road to all that's foul and fair? Gather sisters fire, water, earth, and air. Darkest hour, wake thy power, earthly and divine. Burn and brew with coven true, and glory shall be thine. Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road. Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road. Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road. Circle sown with fate, unlock thy hidden gate.
Some synths and strings come in later and it just slaps. Not only is the song really good and super catchy, but musically it's really smart and stays true to the world that the show is building. Let's talk about it. So the Ballad of the Witch's Road is used to conjure the road, a super scary set of trials that only the strongest witches can even survive. So initially I thought this would be a really old sounding chant, something like the Gregorian chants of the Catholic Mass tradition. Something like the Dies Irae. The Dies Irae translates to Day of Wrath and is used a ton in popular media. I even talk about it in this video. But when the characters start to sing, it sounds fake. On purpose, it's a good thing. Let me explain. You know when you're watching a movie musical, specifically a musical that was produced and filmed like a movie, there's always that part where the on-set audio cuts out and you start hearing the vocals that were recorded in the studio when the songs start. That's exactly what happens here, and it's a little jarring at first, but you get used to it. The actual notes being sung are really interesting to me as well. Even though there are 5 different vocalists, the majority of the song is either in unison or 2 parts. More harmonies are added as the song keeps building. But overall, it's a very sparse arrangement. And like I said, the strings and synths come in later. Melody, droning bass, and then some vocal throws or embellishments. And when first listening to the song, 2 things immediately came to mind. 1, this doesn't sound old at all. I mean, what gives? This is the way you conjure an ancient, super dangerous portal to another dimension or whatever? You can't tell me they were singing this in the 1200s. But the story accounts for this. One of the witches in the coven, Alice, is a blood witch, meaning she was born of magical parents, at least one. In this case, her mother was a witch and also canonically a rock star. And at some point, her mother recorded a version of the Ballad of the Witch's Road, which I can only assume is the most popular version of the song, maybe the only version ever recorded. So canonically, it makes sense that all the witches here would know that version the best. And it also makes sense that it sort of sounds like a classic rock song, 'cause it is. What a cool justification. I'm serious, throw some guitars and drums on those vocals and you've got a dad rock piece that is gonna last a generation.
The road is wild and wicked, winding through the wood, where all that's wrong is right and all that's bad is good.
The second thought I had was, why does this sound so old? So it's produced, auto-tuned, synths are playing, it purposefully feels detached from the audio in the scene prior, but the melody and harmony, the actual notes and rhythms being sung, show a much more in-depth history. This is the part of the video that's going to be about music theory. Here's your warning if you were just here to get my take on the song. It's great, by the way. Looking at the vocals of the piece, there are sections of unison melody and melody with a stagnant, pedal-like bass. The melody sounds very modal, borrowing notes from outside the main key of the song.
Seekest thou the road to all that's foul and fair?
The intervals between the two main voices lead to some really open harmonies, perfect fourths and perfect fifths landing on strong beats. Each phrase of the song also slows down at the end, giving the whole piece a sort of out-of-time, chanty feel to it.
Burn and brew with coven true, and glory shall be thine.
All of this is very reminiscent of medieval chant melody and harmony. The way they thought about harmony was very different from how we think about it today, giving the music of that time period a very distinctive sound. One main difference is that they didn't have keys the way we think of key signatures today. They thought of music much more in terms of what we would call modes. The church modes. That's where they come from. Instead of the equal tempered tuning system of today, where every half step is the same distance apart from each other, the notes and intervals of medieval music were found by mathematical ratios. This led to perfectly in tune octaves, fourths, and fifths, because they all fell under simple ratios, either 1 to 2, 3 to 4, or 5 to 7, I think. The melody of the song isn't diatonic in the way we would think of it as being in a key today. It follows the practice of those older music traditions, focusing on really open intervals, a very singable melody, because oftentimes the people singing wouldn't be professional musicians, they would be the leaders of the church, and grounding the melody in that more modal color palette. You may not be able to tell what mode it's in, but you can definitely tell it's a little weirder than a normal key. Another difference was a focus on counterpoint, or 2 or more voices moving independently as melodies but harmonizing together simultaneously. Looking back on medieval tradition, we now call this kind of singing organum, and there are a few different types of organum in play in this song. The main type used is oblique motion, where the melody can move in any direction, but the harmony voice stays pretty stagnant throughout, not moving any direction. There are moments of parallel motion, voices moving in the same direction, and contrary motion, voices moving in opposite directions, within the ballad, but this oblique pedal tone bass really stands out as the overall texture in the song. The Ballad of the Witch's Road was written by Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, and it's really cool to see them pull from actual music history and historical musical practices to make a song that feels older and more traditional while still being able to fit within the rock song genre that it also needs to fit into. It's very cool. So of course they don't follow all the rules one-to-one for chant music. There are some modern sensibilities in the song. Vocal throws, vocals that act more as harmonies than independent melodies, but I think that's another purposeful choice to make the song fit more into the world of the show. We already know that Alice's mother recorded a version of the song, and it's a well-known rock rendition. So well-known, presumably, that it's the version that everybody in our party chooses to sing to conjure the road. Here's the cool thing though. A lot of that old chant theory carries over into the rock genre. I know, hear me out. Rock is based around power chords, which are just open fifths played on the guitar, so our open harmonies are still there. And listen to anything by Journey or Aerosmith or any 70s rock band, really. Melody forward, harmonies centered around the fourths and fifths either above or below the melody, and vocal throws and ad-libs all over the place. It just works. The writers chose 2 different styles of music that have enough similarities that the same piece can transfer effortlessly between them. That is really cool, and it helps tell the story. So that's my long-winded rant on how cool the song from Agatha All Along is. If you like this video, I would really appreciate you interacting with it in some way. Like, comment, share. Everything helps to grow the channel and get my stuff seen by more viewers like you. What are your thoughts on the song and the show? So far, I am really digging it. I'd love to start a conversation in the comments. If you do want my full opinion on the show as it's coming out, check out the Welcome to the Writers' Room podcast, again linked in the description. We spend about an hour talking about how the show is just an adaptation of The Wizard of Oz, which is awesome. Check us out if you're into that. Subscribe for more videos like this, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.